What happens when soldiers disappear into the shadows and Hollywood dares to follow them there? These are not myths or movie fantasies. They are the blood-soaked whispers of classified SAS missions that governments tried to bury. From sabotage deep behind enemy lines to rescue raids that almost caused wars, these films captured truths the military never wanted revealed. Brace yourself. History was rewritten on film. Number 15. The Wild Geese, 1978. It began as a hit among mercenary veterans and ended as a blacklisted warning to governments worldwide. The Wild Geese was sold as pure adventure, but insiders claimed it mirrored a real SAS contract mission in Central Africa that was meant to stay secret forever. The story follows a group of retired commandos hired to rescue a political prisoner from a corrupt African dictator, but its accuracy startled even former operatives. Rumors spread that the writer based it on first-hand intelligence from British mercenaries who had worked under covert SAS direction during the Congo conflicts. When Whitehall caught wind of it, a quiet pressure campaign began. Locations were changed, names disguised, but the choreography of tactics and the weapons used revealed too much. The Ministry of Defense refused cooperation. The actors trained with real veterans anyway. During production, the South African government suddenly withdrew permission to film, fearing the parallels to real mercenary operations. Several crew members mysteriously disappeared from the shoot list. Richard Burton and Roger Moore both later hinted that parts of the story had been classified material rewritten as fiction. The film became a cult legend, banned temporarily in several African countries. Today it stands as a cinematic ghost of a real operation that the SAS has never acknowledged. History pretends it was fiction, but men who were there said otherwise. Number 14. The Devil's Brigade, 1968. This one was billed as an American-Canadian war drama, but its DNA ran straight through SAS bloodlines. The Devil's Brigade told the tale of an elite commando unit forged from outcasts and misfits thrown into impossible mountain assaults during World War II. Officially, it honored the 1st Special Service Force, but veterans whispered it was also a thinly veiled portrait of early SAS tactics during raids in Italy. The similarities were too sharp to ignore. Night-drop sabotage raids behind German lines and silent mountain warfare matched classified debriefs of British teams attached to American commands. British historians later confirmed that SAS instructors had trained the real force. When the movie hit screens, several Allied archives suddenly closed access to wartime commando reports. Critics called it patriotic fiction, but the realism felt surgical. Veterans reacted strongly, some leaving theaters shaken, others proud. British officials dismissed the film's claims, yet decades later, newly declassified memos showed that the production had indeed consulted with retired SAS advisors under false names. The Devil's Brigade became an accidental confession wrapped in Hollywood glamour. Its uniforms may have been American, its heart was pure SAS spirit. What began as a tribute turned into an exposure of how invisible men fought impossible wars in silence. Number 13. Who Dares Wins, 1982. This was the one that hit too close. Who Dares Wins dramatized a siege in London eerily similar to the Iranian embassy crisis only 2 years earlier when the SAS stormed the building live on television. The film's producers claimed coincidence, but insiders revealed access to after-action details that were never meant for public eyes. The plot followed a counter-terrorist strike team taking on a violent political group inside the city. Every tactic, from flashbang deployment to the use of climbing rigs, mirrored real footage of the SAS assault. The British government quickly distanced itself from the project. MI5 allegedly sent warnings to cast members not to reveal their sources. Filming was delayed twice after security audits removed consultants linked to actual special forces. Rumor had it that the original script used the names of real officers involved in the embassy raid. When it premiered, Parliament members condemned it as irresponsible. Critics dismissed it as propaganda, but audiences sensed the pulse of something genuine. The controversy only boosted its cult following. For soldiers, it felt like a documentary disguised as fiction. For intelligence officials, it was an embarrassment they could not censor fast enough. Decades later, Who Dares Wins remains one of the few films that dared to portray the SAS exactly as they were in their most secret hour. Number 12. The Guns of Navarone, 1961. It looked like a grand Hollywood war spectacle, but beneath its polished surface hid whispers of a real SAS demolition raid in the Aegean that never appeared in official records. The Guns of Navarone followed commandos sent to destroy massive German cannons blocking Allied ships, but military historians quietly noted uncanny parallels to a classified operation involving British special forces and local resistance fighters on the island of Leros. The precision tactics, the rock-climbing infiltration, and the final detonation mirrored SAS after-action techniques from wartime Greece. Rumor spread that former SAS saboteurs served as technical advisors under assumed names. The British government refused to acknowledge any connection, yet the choreography of the assault scenes was too authentic for coincidence. Behind the camera, the production faced mysterious difficulties. A storm destroyed sets, delays mounted, and one of the stuntmen reportedly suffered injuries identical to those recorded in a wartime SAS accident report. Some crew claimed unseen observers visited the set taking notes and never speaking. Others said the script was rewritten at the request of unknown officials to tone down the accuracy of the tactics shown. When the film premiered, veterans recognized their own missions disguised through fiction. The Ministry of Defense remained silent. The public saw adventure, but those who had lived the reality saw the ghosts of their fallen comrades hiding inside every explosion. Decades later, even declassified documents refused to mention the operation many now call the real Navarone raid. Number 11. The Heroes of Telemark, 1965. To audiences, it was a rousing tale of Norwegian saboteurs taking on the Nazi atomic program. To intelligence historians, it was something much deeper. The Heroes of Telemark echoed an SAS-linked sabotage operation against German heavy water production that British records once described only as foreign cooperation. The film's mountaineering sequences, weapon setups, and sabotage methods were textbook SAS precision. Director Anthony Mann wanted realism, so he hired veterans as technical advisors without disclosing their true backgrounds. Production notes later revealed that several had trained with British Special Forces during the war. When Norwegian historians compared the film to newly uncovered files, they found identical routes used by real saboteurs, some still classified decades later. During filming, a Norwegian journalist who tried to trace the authenticity of the story suddenly vanished. Local police called it an accident, but crew members whispered about intelligence interference. The British Embassy discouraged promotional events that linked the SAS to the story. Upon release, the film angered officials who feared it revealed too much about Allied sabotage networks. Critics called it heroic fiction, but real veterans praised its accuracy. Its legacy endures as a testament to quiet soldiers whose work could never be celebrated. Behind every frame lies a mission erased from history but immortalized on film. Number 10. The Sea Wolves, 1980. This one was marketed as a thrilling war adventure starring Gregory Peck, but its true origins made intelligence circles uneasy. The Sea Wolves recreated a real mission carried out by British and Indian operatives against German ships in Goa during World War II. What few knew was that several retired SAS men had been involved in the real raid under cover of colonial forces. The movie's portrayal of middle-aged veterans staging one last daring operation was both sentimental and disturbingly accurate. Every tactic, from the improvised explosives to the Night River infiltration, mirrored classified field manuals later confirmed as SAS origin training materials. The production received no official support from the British military. Instead, the producers used privately sourced weapons and boats identical to those photographed in declassified mission reports years later. Indian authorities almost shut down filming after local historians identified specific docks where the actual attack took place. When the movie premiered, London critics dismissed it as nostalgic fantasy, but for veterans it struck too close. Several refused interviews, fearing they might breach secrecy laws. Within weeks, the Ministry of Defense issued statements denying SAS involvement entirely. Yet in pubs across Britain, men whispered that the Sea Wolves had finally given the ghosts of Goa their due. Decades later, the film lives on as both entertainment and accidental testimony to an operation Britain still will not acknowledge. What was meant to be forgotten returned through the flicker of celluloid, defying official denial with every frame. Number 9. The Secret War of Harry Frigg, 1968. It looked like a comedy, but insiders say it was drawn from a failed SAS extraction mission wrapped in humor to hide the truth. The Secret War of Harry Frigg followed a soldier who escapes captivity only to rescue generals imprisoned behind enemy lines. Audiences laughed, but the intelligence community frowned because the storyline traced too perfectly an SAS-led escape attempt in Italy that went horribly wrong. The real incident involved a small unit sent to recover captured Allied officers before they were transferred to Germany. The mission was buried under layers of secrecy after it ended in disaster. When the film appeared decades later, many veterans recognized the tactics and even the layout of the camp. The climbing ropes, field disguises, and coded messages were all genuine field techniques. Rumor held that one of the script consultants had been there during the real mission. He wrote under a false name and vanished before the film's release. The production studio later reported that multiple reels went missing during editing, only to reappear mysteriously days before final cut. Critics treated it as lightweight wartime satire, but soldiers who had served in Italy found it unsettling. It became a strange hybrid of humor and hidden history, a coded confession disguised as entertainment. Long after its release, whispers continued that the comedy had been a cover for an operation too embarrassing to admit ever happened. Behind the laughter lay a truth far darker than anyone dared to film directly. Number 8. The Bridge on the River Kwai, 1957. One of the greatest war films ever made was also one of the most uncomfortable for the SAS establishment. The Bridge on the River Kwai portrayed Allied prisoners forced to build a railway bridge under Japanese rule and a covert team sent to destroy it. The sabotage mission mirrored real SAS-inspired tactics carried out in Burma, though the official story denied any such deployment. British authorities praised the film publicly, but behind closed doors they despised its accuracy. The infiltration sequences, the demolition strategies, and the depiction of moral conflict echoed the diaries of real special operations officers whose missions remained classified. When researchers later uncovered field reports from Burma, they discovered identical phrasing to dialogue spoken in the movie. During production, the film crew faced sabotage themselves. Cameras malfunctioned, film stock vanished, and a local liaison officer was dismissed for leaking military records. David Lean, the director, admitted he had been warned to remove certain sequences involving explosives design. He refused. The movie went on to win 7 Academy Awards, yet it carried a secret weight. Veterans who had worked alongside SAS units in Burma said it felt too real. They saw their nightmares mirrored in fiction. Officially, no SAS unit ever built or blew up a bridge in that region, but the film's power came from something deeper, the kind of truth governments cannot erase even when buried in fiction. Number 7. The Wild Geese II, 1985. If the first film struck nerves, this sequel set them on fire. The Wild Geese II presented a covert plan to kidnap a high-profile political prisoner in East Berlin during the Cold War. On paper, it was pulp fiction, yet it matched almost exactly a rumored SAS mission to extract an informant from Soviet territory. The plot featured mercenaries operating beyond sanction under orders that never officially existed. Reports from the time hinted that the British government intervened during the film's editing process to change key details. The original script allegedly used real names and mission parameters before being rewritten to protect national security. Cast members claimed men with government credentials visited the set in Berlin to advise on accuracy. When asked who they represented, no one could say. A few weeks later, the studio received anonymous letters warning them not to promote the film as inspired by true events. Critics panned it for lacking the original's heart, but soldiers recognized pieces of their world stitched inside the story. The film quickly vanished from circulation in some European markets without explanation. Decades later, when files from the late Cold War were unsealed, intelligence analysts found brief references to an aborted rescue attempt eerily similar to the movie's plot. Wild Geese II remains a cinematic ghost story about a mission that may have happened and may have failed. Those who know will not speak. Those who don't can only watch and wonder how close fiction came to forbidden fact. Number 6. Raid on Rommel, 1971. Yes, it looked like a routine desert adventure starring Richard Burton, but Raid on Rommel carried a shadow that made British officials deeply uncomfortable. The film followed a commando team infiltrating German defenses in North Africa, yet the tactics, routes, and demolition methods aligned almost perfectly with a rumored SAS raid Britain has never acknowledged. The night assaults, synchronized explosives, and jeep-mounted hit-and-run attacks were nearly identical to early SAS operations around Tobruk. Veterans immediately recognized the choreography. Even the bunker layouts on screen matched sketches found in later declassified intelligence files. Too accurate, some said, too familiar. Behind the scenes, the production faced unexpected resistance. Filming locations approved months earlier were suddenly revoked. Several technical advisors withdrew under mysterious circumstances. A stunt coordinator claimed that unknown officials warned them not to portray real British demolition signatures. Critics brushed the movie aside as minor war fiction, but ex-desert fighters reacted with unease. Some walked out of theaters shaken by scenes they believed were never meant for public viewing. Accounts surfaced that the script had once included real mission code names before last-minute rewrites erased them. Today, Raid on Rommel survives as a small, forgotten war movie, but inside its frames lies the blueprint of a mission buried beneath decades of official silence. Fiction, perhaps, or a confession disguised as entertainment. Number 5. The Eagle Has Landed, 1976. This suspenseful thriller about German paratroopers attempting to kidnap Winston Churchill seemed like pure imagination. Yet beneath its fictional surface lay traces of a real counter-operation planned by British intelligence involving SAS surveillance teams placed in southern England. The film's depiction of infiltration methods, checkpoints, and British response tactics drew heavily from classified home defense procedures of the era. The story unfolded like a chess game of deception, mirroring the kind of field analysis SAS units conducted during wartime homeland security drills. What disturbed officials was how the movie managed to reconstruct these strategies so precisely. Some speculated that former soldiers had leaked training material to the filmmakers. During production, mysterious obstacles emerged. Filming permissions were suddenly revoked from several rural locations known to be near historical SAS training sites. The crew reported being followed by unmarked cars. When the film premiered, members of Parliament condemned it for glamorizing enemy infiltration, but others suspected the outrage was designed to distract from its uncomfortable authenticity. Audiences embraced it as a masterful thriller, unaware of the storm beneath. The film became a hit, but it also marked the beginning of stricter oversight on war productions that might expose genuine tactics. Behind its entertainment value hid a secret admission that Britain's elite units had always been preparing for threats far closer to home. What was shown as fiction was actually readiness caught on camera. Number 4. The Dogs of War, 1980. Officially, it was about mercenaries overthrowing a dictator. Unofficially, it was a dramatized blueprint for real SAS-sanctioned regime changes that London denied for decades. The Dogs of War followed a soldier of fortune played by Christopher Walken hired to plan a coup in Africa. The story bore an uncanny resemblance to an SAS-backed plan against Equatorial Guinea in the late 70s, later exposed by investigative journalists. From its weapons loadouts to its planning scenes, the film used procedures identical to those found in British Special Operations handbooks. Some of the extras were reportedly retired commandos hired for authenticity. One stunt coordinator even admitted to using his personal kit from past missions. During production, several props were seized at customs under suspicion of being genuine military hardware. The production nearly collapsed when a local government accused them of training rebels. After release, British authorities banned the export of the film to certain African states fearing diplomatic fallout. Critics praised its realism while intelligence analysts winced. It showed exactly how covert wars were organized, financed, and executed. For the public, it was thrilling fiction. For the SAS, it was exposure disguised as entertainment. Over time, it became a cult classic among soldiers and historians, a reminder that sometimes the screen reveals more truth than the headlines ever could. Number 3. Bravo. 1999. This television film claimed to dramatize Andy McNabb's best-selling account of an SAS patrol trapped behind Iraqi lines during the Gulf War, but its accuracy sparked outrage across military circles. The story of 8 men sent deep into enemy territory to destroy Scud launchers mirrored real operations so closely that even veteran censors were alarmed. Officially, it was fiction based on a memoir, but inside the regiment it reopened wounds the government wanted closed. The realism was staggering. Every maneuver, every radio call, every coded phrase echoed field reports later confirmed by intelligence leaks. When the film aired, soldiers recognized voices, accents, and even call signs that had once been classified. Some former members said the movie showed things they had sworn never to reveal. The Ministry of Defense tried to distance itself, yet several advisors credited on the film were later confirmed as retired SAS personnel. Filming in desert locations was repeatedly delayed by unexplained interference. Entire reels went missing during transport from Jordan to London. One sequence showing prisoner interrogation was allegedly reshot under government pressure to tone down authenticity. When broadcast, the movie drew record audiences, but veterans split in fury. Some called it betrayal, others saw it as tribute. What no one denied was its truth. It revealed how isolation, fear, and command secrecy collide under fire. The British government has never confirmed the real details of that patrol, but the movie endures as the closest the public will ever come to the raw, unfiltered SAS reality. Number 2. 6 Days. 2017. When this modern thriller hit screens, its precision felt unnerving. 6 Days recreated the Iranian embassy siege of 1980. A mission that made the SAS a legend and terrified governments worldwide. But according to insiders, the movie exposed internal methods still classified decades later. Shot in London, the film portrayed the tense 6-day standoff that ended with the SAS storming the embassy live on global television. Every move, timing, and room breach matched real archival footage, yet certain camera angles and dialogue included information that had never been made public. Former officers hinted that the filmmakers had spoken with men who were there under code names. The production received limited cooperation from authorities, but constant scrutiny from intelligence observers. A sequence showing the breaching team rehearsing in secrecy was almost removed under government pressure. One advisor was allegedly questioned by counterintelligence agents about leaks of classified training data. Despite its acclaim, the film faced a quiet backlash. Military insiders criticized it for revealing how modern counterterror units plan and communicate. The realism was too exact to dismiss as fiction. 6 Days became both a cinematic tribute and a political embarrassment, proving that some stories cannot be safely retold even 40 years later. It remains the most detailed reconstruction of a mission Britain still guards behind silence. Number 1. Eye in the Sky. 2015. Yes. Most viewers saw a modern drone thriller. Those who understood special operations saw something far more dangerous. Eye in the Sky portrayed a joint British-American mission tracking militants in East Africa, but its ground team sequences felt unmistakably SAS, right down to movement signals, concealment drills, and communication codes that mirror real doctrines still classified today. The quiet suspicion began when analysts noticed a scene involving an undercover operator preparing an extraction route. The equipment loadouts, the staggered checkpoints, the silent approach, all matched reports from an SAS incident whispered about but never admitted. Insiders later claimed the screenwriters received access to unpublished field material, though no one has ever confirmed how. Production troubles hinted at pressure from above. Government liaisons requested script adjustments involving drone protocol wording. A key ground engagement sequence disappeared during late editing. Several military advisors refused to reveal their identities, communicating only through untraceable channels. Cast members later admitted they were told not to discuss certain inspirations. When the film premiered, the realism unsettled intelligence circles. It captured not just technology, but decision-making layers usually buried under redaction. For the public, it was a tense thriller. For those who knew it edged too close to truth, a cinematic echo of an SAS operation Britain still denies ever happened. 15 missions buried beneath the sand of secrecy brought to life only through the flicker of film. Each frame defied denial, each story whispered what the files refused to reveal. Some say movies lie, yet sometimes they remember what history forgets. Which of these SAS stories felt most real to you? Like, share, and uncover more hidden truths with us next time.